Hey everybody, how's it going? Stabman coming right back at you, and today I'm going to be talking to you about a Blu-ray from Scream Factory that I picked up a few years ago, I think. It was on sale for like $10 or something like that, and I figured, $10 for two movies, it's a double pack. So $10 for two movies doesn't seem too bad, especially coming from Scream Factory, because, they rarely ever have anything for like that good of a price, right? I figured at that price, the movies weren't necessarily going to be great, but I had never seen them, had never even heard of them before, so I wanted to give them a chance anyways, because you know what? $5 for some cheesy low-grade horror movies from the 80s from Scream Factory sounded good enough for me, so I went ahead and did that, and I got the TerrorVision and the Video Dead here on Blu-ray. And yeah, I can definitely tell you now that I've watched both of them that I am glad that I picked this one up. So I'm going to give you a short review of both of the movies here. So first off, I'm going to start with the Video Dead. I have to say, even though it's good, cheesy, fun horror movie from the 80s, and it has that 80s feel to it, it's not the best movie on this set, I'll put it that way. I did enjoy the special effects, the practical effects that they used for the zombies in the film. You can kind of see right there on the back one of the zombies right there, and that wasn't even the best looking zombie of the bunch, but yeah, they've got some pretty cool looking zombies in this movie, and I did have a lot of fun watching it. My main issue with the movie was just that there were, I'm not going to say plot holes. It's not a plot hole. It's just one of those things where it's like, well, why didn't you do that from the frickin' beginning if that's what it was going to take? You know what I mean? It's one of those horror movies where you're just like yelling at the screen, that doesn't make any sense. Why didn't you do that anyways? Why didn't you do that before people were dead? Just a thought here, But that being said, it definitely had that feel of like a midnight horror movie, the kind of thing you'd see on late night USA back in the day in the 90s, you know what I mean? That kind of movie. And there's nothing wrong with that per se. It's definitely one of those movies that you can watch with your friends and kind of lampoon and have fun with. But of the two, I have to say TerrorVision was great. And I mean, when I say that, I want to be very perfectly clear. Technically terrible. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing about that movie that the way it's shot, the way the script was written, the way that it was directed and produced, all the actors attached, there's nothing about it that's great, except for the fact that they knew this was not high art. They knew what they were going for. They were not trying to make it something it wasn't, and so they went all in for this really great, cheesy masterpiece, I would almost say, of horror here with TerrorVision. They didn't have this really cheesy, funny theme song playing at the beginning and at the end. The theme song is just, it's catchy, it's upbeat, it's fun, and then the whole rest of the movie is catchy, upbeat, and fun as well. I mean, that's what you get from it. Like, they really had fun with this movie. They weren't necessarily trying to make it high art. They were just trying to have fun and make a fun movie, and the result almost felt like more of a horror comedy, which, if the Video Dead was more of a horror comedy, it would be, I feel like, a lot better. But TerrorVision is a complete and total horror comedy. Like, they don't make any bones about it. It's total comedy. They're not taking anything seriously in this. They're lampooning a lot of the 80s culture from the time. I mean, the two teenagers are obsessed with like heavy metal, dude, and MTV, right? And then the dad's obsessed with his satellite dish, and there's all this stuff that's like straight out of the 80s lexicon, if you will, that they're lampooning and making fun of. And it just so happens that there's also a monster from outer space in the movie who's trying to kill everybody. It's a lot of fun, I'll put it that way. And They even lampooned like the Elvira kind of character, the character that hosts the late night horror movies on TV. They have a late night horror show within this movie, and it stars a character that is not unlike Elvira. I mean, Elvira, nobody will ever touch Elvira, but it's clearly a reference to a character like Elvira. And if that doesn't tell you the kind of movie that it is, the fact that they're kind of making references to all these things in like horror culture at the time, and the fact that they're making fun of all these different characters and making fun of like the entire 80s culture at the time. I mean, it's just so much fun if you're familiar with that culture. So as somebody who grew up and not necessarily in that, but at the tail end of that, and kind of understands that culture a little bit better than most people possibly do, or at least a little bit better than some people do. I really, really enjoyed TerrorVision, and no, it's not a great movie. There's nothing about it that's like 10 out of 10. But it's a movie I can find myself watching several times in the future if I felt like it, because it's so much fun. It's just a fun, cheesy, funny movie that I feel like any horror fan would love to watch and love to see. So if you've never seen it yourself, then I highly recommend getting this double pack just for TerrorVision. I believe it's the only way to get TerrorVision from Scream Factory. But there are so many special features on here for TerrorVision. There's an audio commentary, Monster on Demand, the making of TerrorVision, an all-new retrospective with writer and director Ted Nicolau, stars Diane Franklin, Mary Woronov, Ian Patrick Williams, special makeup effects artist Cleve Hall, executive producer Charles Band, composer Richard Band, and others. Poster and still gallery. So it's not like the most special features you're ever going to see, but for a double pack, it's not that bad. It's kind of what you would expect to see from the Shout Select line for TerrorVision alone. And I got this for $10. I feel like if you can get this for $10, it's definitely worth it just for TerrorVision. The Video Dead isn't something that you should like sneer at. It's a pretty good movie in its own right. It's just not the best of the two, you know what I mean? If TerrorVision is maybe like a 7.5 out of 10, Video Dead is at most a 5.5 or a 6 out of 10. Doesn't mean never watch it, it just means be prepared to not care about anything that's happening in the movie. Enjoy the special effects and the practical effects for what they are, because, you know, it's not every day that you see those classic 80s practical effects of those that kind of zombie makeup nowadays. I mean, sometimes you do. I mean, they've made a comeback with stuff like The Walking Dead as of late, but it's not really a frequent thing nowadays in horror movies. So definitely worth it just to take a step back in time and enjoy that kind of practical effects. But the best of the two, definitely TerrorVision. So yeah, those are my thoughts on these two movies right here. Definitely glad that I picked this up for $10. It was a damn good deal after all. So yeah, that'll do it for me today. Thanks for watching, you guys. Catch you later. Peace.